What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Couple on Fire podcast. On today's episode, we're going to talk all about disengagement and why it's the silent killer. That's coming up
right now.
Welcome to the Couple on Fire podcast. I am one of your hosts, Josh. I'm here with the beautiful, awesome, highly intelligent, incredible, I don't know, lots of other things, Miss Christy.
You can just say your wife.
Oh, she's my wife, too.
It encompasses all those things.
It does. All right. If you haven't joined us before, we are the Couple on Fire. Why are we the Couple on Fire? Because we care about taking your faith, family, and future to the next level. We are a faith-based podcast, but we are not Bible scholars. Not every episode is going to be about faith. We like to talk about all different types of relevant things that are going on about your individual growth and how you can apply that to your life. We've had a lot of things happen in our own personal lives, and we've learned a lot. We don't know everything. We're still learning today. If you haven't had a chance yet, you can like, share, subscribe, depending on what platform you're on. And if you're on iTunes and you haven't had a chance to rate us yet, please do that. We're here every single Tuesday live, 7 p.m. Eastern. What's on your mind?
Well, this weekend was our 11-year anniversary.
Was.
So we did a lot this weekend. I have to look at it because I don't want to leave anything out.
We've arrived.
I want to talk about all of it.
She's going to walk us through the whole thing.
So Friday, we
took... Sorry. I need to share it. Share. For some reason, it's not posting to our normal Facebook page. What's wrong?
Nothing. I was talking.
I know I'm sorry. I have to get this done. So I'm going to share it real quick.
So Friday, we took
we have a lot going on, apparently.
So Friday, we took Graydon to EMU to meet his marching band teacher. So that was a lot of fun. And then because he's going to be moving in like the beginning of August or something for Eastern Michigan. And then Saturday was our anniversary. It was actually our 11-year anniversary. So we went out to dinner. We went to some place new. We had gotten a recommendation from someone, a couple different places to go to dinner. We picked one and we went out to dinner. So we did that. The Earl, if you're in Michigan, it's the Earl in Ann Arbor. You should go try it out. It's a nice Italian restaurant.
It was all right.
It is nice. The experience, though, is nice.
Yeah, the experience
light
nice.
music. They have a piano, so maybe some nights late at night they have a piano.
Yeah, live
player.
music. Yeah.
And then Sunday was my niece's first birthday, so that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, they're usually big ragers on first birthdays.
Yeah, so we went over there to celebrate Lolo, and they did a luau for Lolo.
Yeah.
So we had a pretty busy weekend.
Yeah, it was busy. Lots of amazing stuff. So disengagement. So Christy said, you know what? She heard something, and I'm gonna have her share that here in just a second. She goes, you know what? I heard something recently about disengagement, and she's like, you know, really, we should do a show on disengagement, and so that's why we're doing it. So I want you to share everybody the story behind that.
So I'm listening to a book right now by Brene Brown. So I've talked about Dare to Lead before, but this is another book of hers called Daring Greatly. And she's talking about in her research what has been the biggest relationship thing that erodes the relationship. Like it erodes trust in the relationship over time. And it's very slow and takes a long time. So it goes for a long time, maybe not being recognized or putting things in place to prevent it from happening. And it is disengagement. And she talked about it's any relationship, like employees at their jobs, with friends, anything like that. But she specifically also talked about in marriage. You know, she's like, you see it a lot in marriage where two people are married, they both go to work or they work different shifts. And, you know, typically it's the wife that's saying like, I just don't feel like you're here. I don't feel like you're present. And then the husband's like, what do you mean? I go to work, I come home, I take Tommy to softball or t-ball practice. I never miss anything. I'm here. I'm sitting here, you know, but what we don't want to talk about is where is the quality in that? Like if you guys become apathetic to each other and you're in one room watching TV, or you're both out and one person's watching a show while the other person's on their phone, over time, that really starts to erode their relationship, and it allows, little things to work their way in.
Yeah, I mean, disengagement is a real problem. Like, it's a real problem. It's something, because when Christy was asking me, like, what did I think it was going to be, I had to really tease my mind, because I'm like, okay, it's going to be, apparently it's something that most people don't think that it is.
Yeah.
And I'm like, indifference, which is a form of disengagement, but it's like
Yeah,
indifference.
you pretty much guessed it,
Yeah,
though.
we become, indifferent in the way that we live our lives. We become so focused on our own things going on, even in our own marriages and our own family. Like, even though collectively we have a unit that we're supposed to be focusing on, we still have our own jobs. We have our own health. We have our own physical, abilities that we're working on. The older you get, the more like your back hurts, you're not sleeping as well, whatever, all these things. When we become hyper focused on those things, and when we do, we start to pull away from our connections with other people. We become very inward focused, and that disengagement really creates a major indifference within our relationships, which become very dangerous.
Yes.
They can
Agreed.
erode. So we want to talk about 4 things when it comes to disengagement. That's going to be our 4 points that we like to make today. We'll jump right in. Number 1 is you need to recognize the signs of disengagement.
You do, and I think it's important to not only recognize the signs in your spouse and want to talk about them, but recognize the signs in yourself. Like, if you are not in a hurry anymore to get home from work, like if it's a constant, and then we all have to work overtime sometimes and things like that. But if you're constantly working late, doing other things, and not making your family a priority or spending quality time with your spouse a priority, that gradually over time creates disengagement in the relationship with closeness and being able to talk about things. And a lot of times in your own head, you're just like, oh, it's fine. It's only going to be a month. It's only going to be whatever. But then you guys aren't talking about it. That's really what comes down to the disengagement, is you're not talking about it. Like, hey, I've noticed that you have been staying late at work, for the last 4 weeks. Can we talk about that? Can we set up, what's going on at work? Is there times that you can come home? Is there specific days that we can go out to dinner? And a lot of times we've talked about, and I've seen other people actually post this lately too in other marriage groups, is get out of the house. So a lot of people will be like, well, we'll come home and we'll be able to spend time together at home. No, a lot of times you're distracted by the laundry you have to do, or you just want to turn the TV on and just veg out type of thing. Even going outside and going for a walk, getting out of the house so you don't have all those distractions, that you guys can actually re-engage, which is communication, is helpful.
It is. And I think a big thing is when we start to grow kind of an attitude, we kind of start having a little bit of an attitude. So your spouse comes home from work and you don't ask them how their day was. It's just I got my own thing going on here. And your spouse gets to where there's you know what? I don't care. You apparently don't care that what happened at my job today. And even though I had a lot going on today, and I don't feel like having to push all that information onto you. So it's easy for me to just not say anything. And when I'm not saying anything because you didn't ask me, I'm not asking you. And eventually that big wedge starts to get in there, and that starts to push everything apart. So, something that we really try to work hard on in our own marriage is, Christy has, over an hour drive home, an hour drive to work every day. So on her way home, she always calls me and just kind of, pukes her day on me, which is great. But then she, tries to make sure that she always is asking me okay, well, this is a lot of stuff that's happened in my day. What's going on with you? What happened during your day? And it's real easy to say, nothing, not much, not much.
Yeah.
Not much.
Which is typically the guy that does do
that. And that, to me, though, we have to be very careful on that we're not still telling all the fine details, because it's real easy to be misaligned because we get so caught up in our own stuff. I don't have time to care about the things that you do because I don't care about the same things that you do. And that's really a big misalignment. And then all of a sudden now you're you're not going to give me the response that I'm looking for. So I'm just not going to say anything. And that's a scary sign to be. That's why it's important, like Christy's saying, we have to use our communication and saying, hey, I just want you to know, I really care about the things that I'm sharing with you, and I really need you to put your phone down and look at me when I'm talking, or, pay attention to me, so on and so forth, so we can connect deeper on this stuff, because those signs, eventually you'll just stop engaging with each other on these things. Like I'm not even talking to her about how her day was anymore. Next thing you know, I'm not asking her how she feels, and I'm not asking her what she wants to do on the weekend. And we just eventually just pull apart because of that.
Yeah, and I think we did a podcast on the marriage study we did at church called Love Talk.
Mhm.
And I think one of the things with this that we have to remember is the majority of the time guys like a report out and women like a rapport conversation. And so like when the woman's like word vomiting on you, like me, when I'm saying this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened, and then I said, how's your day going? And you're like, oh, not much. I went and got my hair cut. It's just like bullet pointed things. And I know it's harder for you to say, what's all the details that I could tell her around this? And on the drive, I saw, a car accident, and the little details that I probably would tell him about, he'd have to think, but it makes a big difference, and sometimes I need to remind myself for the opposite. Maybe he's had a long day and he doesn't want the whole rapport, all the stories things. Maybe I just need to make it short and sweet and say just this, this, and this, and make it easier on him so he doesn't have to try so hard to listen to all the details.
Listening, though, even for me, is much easier than trying to, when I don't feel like sharing everything that happened during the day, not for any particular reason other than I just don't feel like doing it. I'm not in a mood to do it. I would rather just listen than go into like try to figure out like, okay, this is what I did, and then ask questions about like, okay, why'd you do that? I'm like, I don't want to get into all that, right? And that's exactly what Christy's saying. Like women are much more comfortable giving all those details to all that stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas guys were like, yeah, we just want to give the report.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is what I did today. These are the 3 things that I did. What'd you do today? But that can lead into disengagement, though. That's why it's important to keep talking about.
Yeah, and disengagement in life in general. I mean, aren't waking up and being happy and just like, go to work, come home, punch. It was funny because little Josh, my stepson's interning at my work, and he's been riding 2 to 3 days, depending on the week, 2 to 3 days a week with me. And it's about an hour and a half, usually on average there, and hour and a half back. And he was like, well, now that I've been working for a couple weeks, that's what it is. Like I go to work all day. I come home, I go to the gym, I eat, I go to the gym, I come home, I go to bed. And I'm like, yep, that's basically how adult life is. But you have to remember what things can you do to serve in your time that you do have off? Because one thing I figured out is it's not about the quantity of time, it's the quality of time. So how present are you in the time that you are home? What are you doing on the weekends? How are you spending your time? Are you spending it with people that you want to spend the time with? Are you building relationships with the family and keeping those important relationships key in your life? And you'll still feel fulfilled. If you just sit back and be like, oh my gosh, like I told him I got into a thing one time where I was like, I added up all the hours because I worked so much. And I'm like, I get like, after I take out all the sleep and stuff and we do all of our responsibilities, I get like 16 hours a week total with my family. I'm like, that's ridiculous. And then I was bitter about it rather than focusing how happy and quality it can be when we are together. And now I'm like, whenever we have time together, it's awesome.
Yeah, you enjoy your job too, though. And I think that's another important thing is putting ourselves in a position to be happy with the things that we are and enjoy those things. So, all right.
That is true.
So moving on to number 2. Number 2 is there is a ripple effect when it comes to there is a ripple effect, though, when it comes to disengagement. It impacts every portion of our life, whether we think it does or doesn't.
So that's funny because that just led into basically what I said. On a couple of the jobs that I was unhappy, it did ripple into, how I was at home and how I was on the weekends and whether or not I wanted to go spend. It's so funny to me because I feel like I work more hours now than I have in a few years. And I have a lot more stuff going on personally, but it's like I'm more centered and more like excited, and it's like I want to take on more. Like I just like decided that I want to learn Spanish, so I'm downloading all these Spanish apps on my phone to do. And I called my little sister and asked her if she could start work with me every other week because she's fluent in Spanish to do that. And there's I'm like, oh, maybe I should learn sign language. My aunt knows sign language too, and I said maybe we really need to start buying real estate. We need to get into that. It's like I'm super excited to do all these things. And I wasn't before. It's like when you're unhappy, it's like it makes you more tired and you want to do less.
She'll crash soon, though, and we'll have to pick up the pieces because
whatever.
we can only do so much stuff. But it's true, though, right? So we get disengaged in one area of our lives, and all of a sudden now we become we start to learn indifference, right? And it's almost like this fight or flight mode that we get into in certain things. And yeah, a lot of it is work. A lot of it, though, that most people don't understand is like a lot of this stuff comes from home life. Like
it's your marriage, yeah,
it's your marriage and your home life. And so you're like, kids are tiring, and like working on my marriage is tiring, and paying bills is tiring, and I can't wait to go to work to get away from all that stuff. And all of a sudden now at work, it's like, you know what? You're just tired and groggy, and it's like you're like, I don't want to deal with these people. And all of a sudden now you have this attitude about you where like I don't want to deal with anybody at home, but now I don't want to deal with anybody at work. And it's like, and now Sunday comes along and it's like, it's time to go to church. And it's like, I've earned the right. Okay. This week is long. I don't have to go, and I'm not going to go. And it's another level of disengagement. And all of a sudden now it's like, we're only trying to find things that are pleasing to us, that make us quote unquote happy. And because we learned disengagement in all the areas of our lives because it started in one area. And so we have to understand that there is a ripple effect.
And it's usually from selfishness.
And it is from selfishness, right? It's a self-preservation, right?
Self-focus.
We're trying to preserve ourselves and like, quote unquote, like save ourselves, look after number one type of thing. And in all reality, God teaches us very different than that. When we start to learn that, the world it can heal us, and not the other way around, we start looking outside of ourselves. And so we have to understand there is a ripple effect, whether we like it or not. And so if everybody around you is telling you like, what's wrong, what's going on, that's a time to really start to listen up and say, okay, wait a minute, I need to reflect on some things here because apparently I am doing something that's causing that.
Yeah, listen up.
Yeah. So, all right. So number three. So how about some strategies, right? So we can re-engage. What are some strategies that you can work on doing some re-engagement?
I don't know. What are they?
What do you think?
You tell me.
Well, first off, we have to make sure that we're fostering healthy communication with people, right? So we have to understand that if we feel like someone's pulling away from us, a loved one, a spouse, our children, whoever it is, a good friend of ours, that we're willing to pull them aside and say, hey, you know what? I feel like there's something going on. Let's talk about it. And most likely, if they are trying to disengage, they're going to pull away from that. And we're going to have to learn how to fight for those things and say, hey, no, it's really important. I just want you to know, like, I feel like you're disengaging for some reason. Is there something going on? A hard conversation that we need to talk about? And then we have to get good. We have to get good at knowing that this is a re-engagement process and that it doesn't happen just instantly. Just because we have one conversation doesn't mean that tomorrow Christy now is going to be happy, and fully back engaged with whatever's going on right now. There is a process in that.
I think that is really true too, especially in marriages, because a lot of times the guys are fine. Like they're walking around, everything's compartmentalized in their brains and little things, and they're fine. And the woman for weeks or months has been like, why doesn't he notice this? Why isn't he talking to me? Why isn't this? Why isn't that? And so, but she's not talking to him about it, and he's fine. Like he doesn't know anything's awry, right? And then all of a sudden the wife starts to disengage from what she normally does or she normally feels, because she doesn't feel like, she feels like he's disengaged when he isn't.
The guy's like, what's wrong with you?
Right. He's like, fine. Like, what do you mean? We're doing life together. Like, what are you talking about?
Right. High five.
So then by the time it comes full circle, this is usually the toxic pattern that we get in. That's why we have to try to break it, or the crazy cycle is like, what do you mean? Like what? And then that's been going on for weeks. So then it's a process to try to get usually the woman to re-engage, because technically the guy was never disengaged. He was just living life, right?
Being a guy.
Yeah, being a guy. But it's not I think that's a good quality. I think that men do have to try to tune into their wives and their emotional needs more often, which we've talked about that before.
Yeah.
But it is a good quality to be like, a lot of guys, they're content. Like they're like, I'm good. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Why are you so upset? Well, like, why do you think I'm disengaged? I'm fine. I haven't done anything different. And the woman, went and got some highlights put in her hair, 3 months ago, and you've never noticed and you've never said anything. And then she's like, he doesn't even care about me. And she's been holding this grudge for like 3 months. And now it's true.
It is. He's like, your roots are showing. Like, did you know that? Like that's what guys would do.
Yeah.
Because they think they're being helpful.
Yeah.
And you're
And
like,
then-
you didn't even tell me that my hair looked good when I first got it done, and now
Yeah.
you're telling me that it looks bad.
He's like, oh, you got highlights? I thought your hair's already been like that. And then she's like, oh, you know.
Right.
So yeah.
I think another big key thing, like for us to re-engage, is setting common goals, goals together. And that way we feel like we're achieving something together, which when I say,
Well, I
when
like that.
when we're striving together
Buy
with
real
something,
estate, learn Spanish.
right. I don't want to learn Spanish. I'm all about buying real estate though, but I don't want to learn Spanish. Right. But,
Sign language.
no, thank you. Like, no, I'm good. I'm trying to get Christy to do my homework for me. 'Cause I'm in grad school right now. She doesn't want to do that. Right.
No.
See, no, couple goals are going right down the drain. But the point is we have to set goals together. When we do set goals together, it forces us to work as a team. And I think that's so important, like no matter what it is, whether it's a work engagement, whether it's wife engagement, life engagement, financial, whatever engagement it is that you're working on, right? You guys have a common goal. That engagement is an automatic thing. Now, we're not saying, okay, this is our goal. We're setting it. We want to be this way in a year or 2 years or 5 years, and then never talk about that goal, right? We're talking about setting healthy goals the way you're supposed to set goals, right? You set a big goal, and then you back up and say, okay, what is our 6 month, our 2 month, our 1 month, our 4 week, our 2 weeks, so on and so forth.
5 year, 3 years.
Yeah, so on and so forth, right? But I think setting goals is a huge thing to help us re-engage along with communication.
Right. Slingshot, engage.
And then number 4. How do you use faith? How do you use faith when it comes to disengagement?
Really quick, what movie is that from?
From Talladega Nights.
Okay, you weren't engaged in my comment. That was funny.
It's not.
Jeez.
It was not. I didn't know that it was. I didn't know it needed a comment. Your comment needed a comment. I didn't know that it needed that.
You don't need to make an excuse for your disengagement.
I don't understand what that means.
I don't know. It needed a comment.
I didn't actually. The role of faith. So how does faith play in disengagement? Go.
Well, I think I was just talking. No, I did the first 2. Don't you say that.
It's your turn.
So I think this is funny because I was just talking to a friend about this the other day, is when we pray, I would say 99% of the time when we're praying about something, even if we're praying for God to change a situation or a person, which we shouldn't be praying that. We should, but regardless, that's the way the majority of people pray. God ends up changing our heart through it. And I think that when we're praying and talking to God about what, else we can give back, how we can serve, all of these types of things, God will change our heart if we're disengaged, he'll bring things to light that we can do. He'll start working on your spouse for things that they can do. So I think prayer is what will help.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. I think, serving, we kind of mentioned this earlier too. I think understanding how our faith works, right? Where we're about giving and serving, we talk about, Jesus's grace, that's given to us freely. We talk about serving, then we're able to get outside of ourselves, because disengagement really is about protecting ourselves. That's what it is a root of, it becomes this self-deprecating thing that we hold on to. And so if we can look at serving like our faith teaches us to do, then we're starting to see outside of ourselves. It's what we tell people in recovery all the time. Like, the number one thing you need to do is get outside yourself. You have to get outside yourself in the beginning. You got to stop doing whatever it is that you're doing that you're addicted to. But then the very next step is to say, okay, how can I start serving? How can I start helping? Show up early at Celebrate Recovery, help with coffee, help whatever it is that you got to help with. And in doing that, it brings us into a new level of engagement with something else, whether it's the act of service itself, a community of people, our relationship, our marriage, our children, our work, so on and so forth. And so I think there's a lot of lessons that we can take from our faith that really teaches us about disengagement or engagement.
Agreed.
Anything else?
No.
All right.
I think this was excellent.
Excellente. All right. Ways review. You want to review everybody?
No, you can. I think you do a really good job when you do it.
Thank you. Okay, so as a way of review, the 4 points that we made about disengagement, right? The silent killer in a relationship is, first off, we have to recognize the signs of disengagement. What are we recognizing? Are we paying attention to behaviors? Are we paying attention to attitudes? And number 2
facial expressions.
Facial expressions, right? The ripple effect, right? To understand that disengagement doesn't affect just one part of our lives. It will eventually affect all parts of our lives. And number 3 is, what are your strategies? What is it that you're putting in place? Are you using communication? Are you setting goals? These are some common engagement things that we can do.
Date nights?
Are you setting date nights?
Yeah.
Number 4, yes. Number 4 is the role of faith in our level of engagement or getting rid of disengagement. Understanding that There's prayer, which is what Christy said. And then there is, our level of serving, understand how that plays a major role. So I want to thank you guys so much for being here. Let us know if there's any topics you want us to cover. We can always cover new topics. If you haven't watched any of our other last ones, we have, I think, 240 episodes. You can go to joshandchristy.com. We have them all on there. You can check them out. We are here every single week.
Yeah, go ahead.
Every single week, Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern. What do you got?
So really quick, I need our listeners that watch us on video. So you got to look at my face. And then I started using one of them gua sha stones or geisha stones. I don't know how you call it.
Gua sha?
I think it's gua sha.
Oh.
I think it's gua sha. But anyway, I do it every night. And if you haven't looked them up, look them up. And we get like sinus drainage in our faces right here. And you take the stone and you rub it a specific way. You got to just do it in specific order too. And it's supposed to make your face like snap up, right? Snatch or something, I think they call it. My face looks snatched.
I don't know.
Is that what they say?
I don't know about that. It's not the word I come up with, so I
think that is.
We're sorry.
Anyway, you need to pay attention to my face because over time, if it starts to look like it's from the gua sha stone.
So if it starts to look like it's snatched up?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know. I don't know that term.
I think that's what it means.
I don't know. I've never heard anybody say that.
What?
No, I don't know.
Let's not end. We haven't gotten that long. Let me Google it really quick.
Oh man.
Okay.
When your cheeks are sucked in, it's called being snatched up?
I don't know.
No, I'm asking. Is that what you're referring to?
I think so. What do you
okay.
call it when you?
Oh man, sorry everyone.
When you use, don't look at my Google.
I have to look at your Google.
I wonder how you pronounce it. Geisha stone.
You should have just did talk to text. It would have been much easier.
Your face.
When a geisha stone thins your face, what is it called?
Gua sha? I think it's gua sha stone.
Gua sha stone. We have no idea. Any kind of facial interior?
No, I think I have to look up like what is the
involved in this right
What
now.
is the street term? Is that what we call?
Oh man.
What is
Don't
the
do
street
this, people.
term if you're I'm gonna just Google
How
is
about
it
you just
called
put it in the comments later?
snatched face?
How about you just put it in the comments
No.
later? Oh my dear, this is not good.
For a snatched face. Let's see.
It's like, even AI is like, we don't know what that means.
The snatched look is a term used in aesthetics industry to describe a balanced and harmonious facial structure. That's what it is.
Never heard
Youthful
that before.
and chiseled. I was correct. Your face is snatched.
You look snatched, girl. Like,
your face.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That
Often involves enhancing, highlighting key facial features, sharp jawline, lifted cheeks, and plumped skin. Yes.
This is how we ended our show today. You look snatched up.
He
girl.
almost wanted to disengage and make me put it in the comments.
I kind of
see how
did.
I re-engaged him though.
I still want to.
It's tips.
We're not putting it in the comments now, just so everybody's clear on that. That will not be happening. Well, thank you guys so much for being here. We'll see you next Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern.
Bye.